Yeah, you name it. So there's been many civilizations that have risen and fallen, and anyway, we've got to preserve. We've got to become multiplanetary, and right now the only way to do that is with rockets that do burn fuel. But we do have a long-term plan for sustainability of even rocket flights by generating propellant using sustainable energy, wind and solar, to generate, starting first with liquid oxygen. And for our Starship vehicle, it's almost 80% liquid oxygen and 20% liquid methane. The oxygen, it's obviously pretty easy to create that. You just use wind and solar electricity, and you do air separator, because you've got the oxygen already in the air. The plants are making the oxygen, so you can just use electricity, basically renewable electricity, to create 80% of the propellant on the rocket. And then for the remaining 20%, you can use the Sabatier process, where you actually take CO2 out of the atmosphere, and you combine that with water to create CH4 and more O2.
Yep.
And that's in fact what we would do on Mars.
Sure.
To generate propellant.
Sure.
So there is a long-term plan for sustainable generation of propellant for the rockets. I do want to emphasize that. And if there's some other way to do that now, we certainly would.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to sort of address this apparent inconsistency in if generating carbon is bad, why are you doing that with rockets?
Yeah. And listen, I think it's a moral imperative for the human race to be able to move off Earth while we have the opportunity. Everything we know is right here.
And just because it's not just one of the other criticisms. Sometimes people think, oh, is this some escape hatch for rich people? No, they think it's like, so going to Mars reads like that ad for Shackleton going to the Antarctic. It's dangerous, it's uncomfortable, it's a long journey. You might not, come back alive, but it's a glorious adventure, and it'll be an amazing experience.
And your name will go in history.
Yes, you might die. It's going to be uncomfortable, and you probably won't have good food, and all these things, So if an arduous and dangerous journey where you may not come back alive, but it's a glorious adventure, sounds appealing,
and
Mars is the place.
And you still have thousands of volunteers, if not millions of volunteers, who would want to go.
I mean, honestly, a bunch of people probably will die in the beginning. It's tough sledding over there.
We're an exploring species.
Yeah, exactly. Not for everyone. We don't want to make anyone go, so it's it's volunteers only.
You have a Dragon capsule on the pad. Crew 2 is nominally. Are you still go for launch tomorrow?
Yeah.
Awesome. You want to just spend 2 minutes talking about the Crew 2 mission?
Yeah, so we've got hopefully a great mission planned for tomorrow. This will be our third flight of people to the space station. We had the test mission with 2 astronauts, then the first sort of operational mission with 4. This is our second operational mission with 4. It's an international crew, great group. I was just looking online. They're sort of, picking their sort of. Hopefully not final meal, but they get to pick whatever their favorite food is, from their country, and so I'm actually heading over there tonight just to wish them well.
I was out at Pad 39A to see the stack yesterday. A couple of things. One, Pad 39A, historic.
Yeah, this is where people went to the moon.
Yeah, Apollo 11
from that pad.
From that pad, the first space shuttle launch back in '81, STS-1.
Yep.
And so it's a lot of karmic responsibility to be operating.
Yeah,
from
it's
there.
like Times Square, the Times Square of launch pads.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
amazing. And the first stage has a beautiful patina on it.
It does. It's it'll be it's a reused stage. So when the stages come back, they kind of get scorched.
Yeah.
So the black thing, some people think, is that sort of something? No, it got scorched from re-entry.
Your team said they used to wipe it off to clean it, and then it's just like, why bother?
It's kind of hard to wipe off. It doesn't wipe off easily.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like baked on there.
Yeah. And it's interesting.
You kind of have to repaint it, really.
We were having a discussion about, is it safer to use a stage that's flown already versus a new stage?
Yeah, so I think what we'd say is flight proven.
Flight proven, yes.
Yeah. So
that's like a Lexus
if this was an airplane, do you want to be on the first flight of that airplane when it comes out of the factory, or do you want to be on a later flight? I'd say let somebody, let the test pilots do their thing before you fly a plane. So flying a plane, you want to see that plane has flown a few times before you get in it, I think.
Yeah.
So I think it should be, on balance, better. And then we'll also be start reflying the spacecraft.
The
as
Dragon,
well,
yeah.
the Dragon spacecraft.
Beautiful.
So we're trying to get reusability is obviously very important. In many arenas, so reusability is important. And reusability in rockets is important.
I remember being in Hawthorne, seeing your Falcon 1 there, and it was just amazing.
Yeah.
There's
some funny pictures of basically the sort of SpaceX as a kind of like a kindergartner, and me being like whatever 20 years younger, we're just in this tiny little warehouse in El Segundo.
Yeah, I remember it well.
Yeah.
Before we go to jump into the guidelines, one last question: update on Starship, because that's Starship's taking us to the moon, taking us to Mars.
That's the
and
goal.
it is audacious. Can you compare it to the Apollo?
It is audacious, yes.
Compare it to the Apollo vehicle, the Saturn V, for comparison for a second, for folks to get a sense of it.
Sure. Well, I think the thing that's least obvious from when it's on the ground, from the videos and pictures, is the size of it. So, it's going to be the largest flying object ever. So it'll be twice the thrust and weight of the Saturn V.
Amazing.
So that's just from a side, and taller. Including the launch escape tower. So it's a very tall rocket. 120 meters tall.
And because it's so wide,
yeah.
the proportions are obscure that fact, how big it is.
Yeah, you can see in some of the pictures that have been released when it's landing on the moon, and the people look like ants. It's a big rocket. This rocket is capable of at least 100 tons and probably closer to 200 tons of useful payload to the surface of the moon. So we're designed to be far in excess of NASA's requirements.
Yeah.
And so it's really intended to be something that that can enable a permanently occupied base on the moon. So we've got obviously permanently occupied base in Antarctica, and it would be great to have one on the moon as well.
Yeah.
And you can do I think a lot more research if you have the scientists actually there. And we could have some very powerful telescopes.
It's the moon. There's some great sayings from Robert Heinlein that said if God had wanted humanity to have space flight, they would have she would have given us a moon.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
It's a great staging place.
Exactly. It's just off the coast. Mars is much further.
Yeah. One last question. Moon.
But I think more important than the size of Starship is the fact that it is intended to be fully and rapidly reusable.
Yeah.
So